Thank you.
Everybody, this is Emar Silvertooth, the Sports Inquirer, and we're joined by Sarah Copeland, a runner for Georgia Tech cross country. Sarah, thank you for joining us. And how has the season been going so far for you in your freshman endeavor?
Geez, it's been an unbelievable experience. I've come into a team with 29 ladies and just so brilliant in the training, in the recovery and the team aspect. I had a good race in Georgia at Kennesaw. So that was a good 4-kilometer first race. This last weekend, we were in Minnesota racing at Roy Briac, a 6-kilometer race, and that was rather tough. I was a little bit disappointed in my performance, so I'm excited to be racing this weekend to see what I can do.
Good. Let's go back to the Kennesaw State Opener, which was September 3rd. You ran a very good race. You're named ACC Freshman of the Week. But what was that competition like for you, finally running for the program and being in that event?
I think, after having a COVID year of not racing, being able to race again is very exciting. On that, there were so many supporters, which was awesome. The competition was good, very tough, pushes you through the whole way. I think my teammates also are very competitive and good at what they do. So glad to be on the team in that sense and have them push me and encourage me.
Yeah, and that's you're recognized as the runner of the week, a freshman of the week. What was that like for you, being recognized for your first competition for Georgia Tech?
Very exciting. Definitely not expected, but I'll take it as it comes, and very thankful for it.
And you mentioned the second race that you ran was in Minnesota on September 24th. What did you learn from that competition? I spoke with Coach earlier and said it was a different race. You had different strategy, and you're still adjusting to running cross country in the United States. What was that like for you being in that race?
Sure. So I think there was brilliant competition there, and perhaps a little bit overwhelming to be among so many good runners. The weather was a little bit chilly, but I definitely planned to go out a little bit more conservatively and didn't. So I ran a bit hard, and the lactic acid buildup was quite severe at the end, which means I wasn't able to kick as hard as I would have liked. But that's okay. It's part of the experience and learning, and I'm really hoping to use that experience in the next race.
And speaking with Coach, and I didn't realize this also, you didn't run too much cross country in South Africa. Is that an accurate statement? And
Yes.
how has that been adjusting to running from tracks to now running on fields with hills and dealing with the elements?
Yes, absolutely. Big adjustment. You run on grass and your feet are all wobbly and you bang your knees, and there's obviously a lot more competitors and it's up and down. So it is definitely an adjustment in that. And also with track, it's like this flat out sprint, and you're just doing your circles and you've got a strategic plan. Whereas cross country, there's so many more variables, and it's sustained distance. And I think on young legs, I'd like to call them, as coming into cross country, I've still got to build up sort of that strength and distance.
Do you think that'll come with more practices, running more competitions, working with your teammates? Because there's strategy involved too, as far as pacing and and running a race with other runners that are on your same team. Do you think you're going to get more adjusted to it over time?
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of skill that comes with racing and learning how to race. I think there's patience that I need to learn, but it does come with training and with consistent repetitions and stimulus that allow your lactic threshold to sort of go further. So that's cool.
Yeah. What's the last 9 months been like for you? Because speaking with Coach and doing some research, you mentioned COVID and the pandemic, but you were in South Africa a few months ago, it seems like literally, and you started the recruiting process, I guess, a little bit later, like in the spring, and now you're in Atlanta running for Georgia Tech. Has this been a whirlwind of just moving across the world, literally, and dealing with all the stuff that comes with it?
Absolutely. I think it's an unreal experience that I get to be here. And I'm really thankful for that and thankful for all that coach has done for me in getting me here. Yeah, I ran in South Africa for the first half of this year for a university back home called Stellenbosch University. I was part of the EnduroCAD club and had a fantastic training group there where I was able to develop and run some good races. But yeah, coming out here to broaden my horizons in racing and experience and train with some brilliant girls is just, I'm just couldn't be more thankful.
And another thing I learned also is that you actually reached out to Georgia Tech and wanted to come to the schools. Usually it's the coaches that come to the runners and we're recruiting, but you had the initiative to do the opposite of that. What led you to want to not only come to the United States and run collegiately, but for Georgia Tech?
I think Georgia Tech is known as a brilliant university overall. They have fantastic engineering school. Academics are top notch, and then their running team is brilliant. My brother also is in the Atlanta area, so that was a big pull. This side, just having a bit of family away from home allows the transition to be so much easier. And just, I suppose, as a support system for me being so far away from home. So those were three sort of big pulls coming this side. I think also knowing that Georgia is very central and that Atlanta is open and COVID is, it's obviously still around, but they're open in terms of COVID, and that's also great.
All right. And will cross country is that your specialty, or do you think is track indoor or outdoor? What's the running season going to look like for you collegiately as far as you progress?
That's a great question. I think as sort of my first cross country season, it's hard to answer that question. I do happen to prefer the longer distances, but I'm finding that the 6K is rather tough, obviously, as it is a long distance. So I'm like, cool, 1500 is nice and short, and you can sprint it, but it's still long enough. But sort of like an 800 is tough. It's almost too fast. So I'm not really sure where I fit in, just taking every race as it comes and trying to do my best in that.
What did you run in South Africa, or just run as a junior in your juniors? Was it 3,200, the mile? What were your disciplines or your distances?
So during high school, I ran the 800 and the 1500.
Okay.
Occasionally the 400, just because those were school events. But then coming out of high school and into university, it was definitely a 1500 and a 3000 focus.
Yeah. And how's it been in Atlanta and your experiences at Georgia Tech? I know it's only been a few months, but how have you adjusted to being here?
I think the city is rather impressive. Everything about it is wonderful. Everything is in abundance, and it's been awesome experiencing all the different places and people. I really do love the culture, and it's a beautiful city. I feel very comfortable being able to run around it. It's quite fun, all the loops that we get to do, and nice.
Very nice. Sure. And in my research, I also saw you're a very competitive athlete. You played tennis, you swam, you played netball, which we don't have too much here in the United States, but it is a fun sport to watch. But why cross country, or why running? What appealed to you to really focus on this sport? You mentioned once you got to university and now in the United States collegiately.
Sure, that is a great question. I think running's always been my favorite. We didn't have a lot of it in high school at all, but it was always when the athletic season came, I put in a lot of effort and always loved it. With tennis, I loved tennis, but I found I was rather small compared to some of the other girls. So having the power and the strength was not quite there. So being able to compete at a high level, I was disadvantaged a little bit. In netball, you have a team, and I was also quite small. So that's also it's a bit tricky in that sense to go further with it. It just happened that I was able to get part of a brilliant club back in South Africa for running, and I pursued it from there.
All right. And now you have a meet coming up on October 2nd, the Alexander Asics Invitational. You ran last week in Minnesota, and you went to coach and want to run immediately the next. So you're running two races within a 7-10 day span, which is a lot on the body. Why did you want to run in this upcoming meet after running in Minnesota?
asked coach for another sort of practice race. We have one more race after this, Penn State, and then it's ACC conference. And I said to coach, I want to be the best I can be for the team. And I want to make sure that I don't bum out again or run without patience or without good mental toughness. And so having this race this weekend, I plan to just, practice some mental toughness, practice a kick, practice patience, practice pacing, get a race experience. And yeah, it's just another sort of race to get in my legs and understand what that distance means. And yeah, hopefully I can do well for my team.
Sarah, we appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us. And you'll have to come back with us later on in the season and see your progression.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thanks, Sarah.